Hello. This is going to be a video walking you through the ABFO Requirements Spreadsheet that was developed by Dr. John Nace and that the Certification and Examination Committee is going to be using when you submit your application to check through all of your documentation to make sure that you have in fact met all of the requirements to be able to sit for the examination. So before I start, I would like to just recommend and kind of reiterate some things I've said in other videos, that it is easiest to do this by tracking things as you go, getting your signatures as you go, compiling everything as you go, just so that it's much, much easier to put all this together at the time that you want to apply for the examination. So my recommendation is you just have a folder. I'm going to put mine here on my desktop so you guys can see it pretty easily, entitled ABFO Application. So I'm going to open that up. That's where I'm going to store this spreadsheet right here that you get by emailing Dr. John Nace. If you don't have that information, you can reach out to myself, Shaunatha Collier, as the Diplomate Development Chair, or you can also find Dr. John Nace's email address on the ABFO website. So you'll notice there's a couple of other things here in this folder. The first thing I'm going to do is just open up the spreadsheet so that you can kind of see that, and then walk you through how to use this. So read the instruction page. That definitely kind of gives you the broad overview of how this works. I'm not going to sit here and read all of this to you guys. You guys can read that on your own time. But what I am going to point out, it does tell you how to name the spreadsheet, and that is why mine is named the way that it is. That is how they want you to name it, so they know whose is whose. Remember, there may be multiple people applying for the examination, so this helps them very easily see whose spreadsheet they're looking at. The first thing to notice is that across the bottom, there's different tabs. And really the two that are of importance for the video today is this General Requirements tab, which is going to be where all of the main requirements are located. And then there is an Electives tab. So we are going to go through this, and we're going to start off first on the General Requirements tab. So again, this is laid out hopefully in a way that kind of makes sense, but I know this can be really overwhelming and really daunting. So that's why I'm going to walk you through it. The first thing I would say is you need to put your name up here where it says applicant, and that should turn green. All of these fields that are red because there is nothing entered into them. Once the appropriate things are entered into them, or at least text that is entered into it, it will turn green. So that's why you notice that it turned green once my name was in there. So up top here, you do have to submit transcripts for all of your college education. You'll list out your institution. And again, once it is filled in, it turns green. University of Oklahoma, College of Dentistry. I can't spell. I will say ignore typos. Again, I'm just trying to make this video not last 7 hours. So those are my two colleges. I'm going to put in just a date for an example. Let's say, I should probably make it a date that hasn't happened yet. Let's say I requested that on January 21st, 2026. Same here. Okay, so once you have requested your transcripts be sent to the C&E committee, that's the date that you would use. With these transcripts, I would highly recommend when it comes time for you to turn your application in, please reach out to the chair of the Certification and Examination Committee. That person can be found on the ABFO website under the committees list, and ask them where these transcripts should be sent. There is an email listed in the instructions found on the ABFO website. However, that email is not always the correct email or accessible to the chairperson. So the best way to just ensure that your transcripts get to the right place is to reach out to the chair of the C&E committee and ask where those should be sent. And then that's the email address you will give to the universities for them to send the transcripts. So the next section we're going to look at is there are basically just what I would call general application documents that have to be filled out. You will see these here. Where are those found? Those are actually found on the ABFO website. So let's pull up the internet. I will show you that right now. Go to Google. If you just type in ABFO, you'll be able to find that website. And currently we are about to go undergo some website changes, but right now, if you look under certification and application documents, that's where you will find these forms and documents that I am about to walk you through. So I'm going to get rid of that. So the first one is this general provisions form. So what that looks like, if I come back to my folder here, I have my ABFO general application forms. That's basically what they are. So the first one was that general provisions form. I want you to see how I've named this. They don't have a specific way they want you to name these forms, but my recommendation is to put your last name and the year you're applying. So we're going to act like we're applying this year. So that's why it's called Collier 2026 ABFO General Provisions Form. So this kind of outlines some different things you need to read, but it is going to require a signature down here at the bottom. You will put your signature there, date it, save it, and that will be part of what you email to the C&E committee. So once you've done that, you can come in here and you can just say signed 3/1/2026. So that lets you know you've taken care of that form. So same thing with the main application form. Again, back in my ABFO General Application Forms folder, here is that application form. If we open that up, again, these things up here, you will leave blank. You can type in your social security number, but the C&E committee will fill that in. So this is one of those instances of, again, there is an email listed here. However, this email is not always accessible to the chairperson. So reach out to the chairperson and figure out what email they want you to send your information to. So this is that, again, general application form. Again, please make sure that you're reading all of this information. You're going to attach a photograph. There's some other information that you fill out. So fill that out for yourself. Again, here's where you list your education so that they know where you're supposed to be getting transcripts from, etc., etc., etc. Again, this is the general application form. You would just fill all of this out. It's pretty self-explanatory. If you have any questions about what needs to go in this form, you can always reach out to me or the chairperson of the certification and examination committee. So please note that the last part of this is a code of ethics. That form does have to be notarized. So you will not sign this until you are in the presence of a notary. They will notarize it. You can then scan that back into your document and have it ready to go. So let's say you've got that completed. You'll come back in here to the spreadsheet and we'll say we've gotten that signed and taken care of on the first as well. The requirements worksheet is this documentation, this document right here. So we haven't finished that yet. Leave that blank. Our Article A is our summary of cases. We haven't finished that yet. I'm going to walk you through that. Our supporting documents we haven't done yet, so I'm going to leave those blank. We have our binding arbitration form. Is that signed? So again, that is a form on the website. We're going to open that up. Again, more things for you to read. There is definitely a lot of reading in this process. You're going to sign and date that. Once you have done so, you can come back over here to your spreadsheet and say, I have signed this, whatever date that you signed it on. Here is the application checklist and information. Again, more information for you to read. It outlines in a little bit more detail some of the things that they want, concerning like the transcripts and your letters of recommendation, etc. Again, just a little bit more details about the actual application itself. This is just a checklist designed to help you kind of keep track of things. None of this is required. This does not have a signature, but it does show that you would check mark all of these boxes, make sure everything is there, write your name on it. But you do not have to actually submit this as part of your application. The spreadsheet is going to serve as this checklist. This is just another way, if you're one of those people that likes to have paper in front of you, for you to kind of track all of your information. The spreadsheet is what is going to be submitted. So you can just say, I've reviewed this, however you want to do that so that that box turns green at the appropriate time. Again, you need to make sure that you have read through all of the information in this first 2 pages of that checklist document. It is important information. So, okay, we've done that. Once you have all of your application documents put together and actually submitted to the chair of the C&E committee, you will go on to the ABFO website. So we're back at the ABFO website, Store, Public Shop, and right here where it says Application and Written Exam Fee, that is where you're going to go to pay your application fee. You'll add it to the cart, go through the checkout process, and it will show that you have paid that fee. That information goes to the treasurer. The treasurer lets the C&E committee know that you've paid it. So you don't actually send them a check. You do this online, and you will say, I paid my money on, let's see, this date. So that lets you know that you have paid your application fee. They will not consider your application submitted until that fee is paid. So please do not forget to pay your fee. It would really kind of stink to go through this whole process and then forget to pay your money by the due date. Your application and your fee need to be paid by June 1st. Keep that in mind, June 1st. All right, so the next thing that we're going to fill out on the spreadsheet is your references. So you do have to have 3 references. Those can be whoever you want to be. I'm just going to say reference 1, reference 2, reference 3. You'll have all those listed there. You'll type out their email 1. This again helps the C&E committee know what email address these references are coming from, so they know who to look for. And then this is the date that you requested the letter. Again, when you request a letter from your reference, please be sure to give them the email address where they are to send that letter. That way they're not sending it to some inaccessible email and the C&E committee is sitting there waiting on it, but everybody thinks it's been sent. So we're just going to put today's date as if we made these requests today. And there you have it. So I would also recommend you follow up with your references. Give them plenty of time to write a letter. Again, the application deadline is June 1st. Please do not ask them on May 30th to write you a letter. Be courteous, be respectful of their time. Please give them at least a couple of weeks to put a letter together for you and get it sent to the appropriate person. So that's just, again, a piece of advice if you would actually like good reference letters from your references. Okay, now we're kind of getting into the actual things you need to be tracking as you go. So the first section here is our meeting attendance. So you've got to have 4 meetings attended. You cannot have more than 1 meeting per year. So theoretically, there should be 4 separate years of meetings here. And so, again, we are just going to type in dates as examples. Let's say we started this process in 2021. So, and let's say we attended the AAFS meeting. And that is just their annual meeting. You can, if you want to, use the title of that meeting. The AAFS meetings all have, themes and names. Feel free to use that if you want to, but you can also just say annual meeting. That is fine. You'll notice that it says here page number of section 2A supporting documents. You are going to be creating a PDF file that has all of these supporting documents they are requesting in one file. I am not going to show you how to do that in this video, but I will put together a separate video that shows you how to assemble all of that in case you do not know how to do it. But we are going to go minimize this or minimize that. And again, back in my ABFO application folder, we're going to kind of back up a step here. You will now see this Collier 2026 Section 2A supporting documents. That is the document that I am talking about. So we're going to open that up. You're going to notice that mine is actually all put together already, again, for the sake of this video. But you'll notice here on page 1 that this is my first meeting attendance. So this is actually an ASFO meeting, and it was in 2020. So that should match what is listed here on your spreadsheet. So I'm just going to say, let's go back here. That was February 18th, 2020. That was the ASFO. That was their annual meeting. Campfire. The Campfire and Applied Forensics. And that was page 1 of my supporting documents. So once you do that, they know what is on page 1 should be this. It should be that annual meeting from that date, that entity. If we go to page 2, you will see that that is my AAFS meeting attendance on these dates. So again, that was February 15th, 2020 through February 19th, 2020. That was the AAFS annual meeting. And that is page 2. So hopefully you guys can see how this is going to work. Page 3 is actually my AAFS meeting from 2022. And then page 4 is the AAFS meeting from 2023. So the first 4 pages of that Section 2A supporting documents should be your meeting attendance certificates showing what meetings you attended and the years that you attended. So that was 2021. Again, it's not really critical that you pay attention to my dates because this is all going to be your own dates. But this is just showing you how to fill this sprout. So again, what is listed in this spreadsheet needs to match what is in that Section 2A supporting documents PDF document. Make sense? Again, once you've done all of that, everything's turning green. That kind of shows you, again, you've completed that part. This is another reason why I say you should track this as you go. It's very easy to open this up, see what's still red, know where you are, know which requirements you're still lacking, which requirements you've completed. Again, Dr. Nace really designed this to try to be beneficial in helping you track where you are in the process, as well as help you assemble all of the massive amounts of information you're going to have to assemble when you actually go to apply. So there's our meeting attendance. Next up, we're doing our meeting participation. You do have to have 2 meeting participations. That can be serving as a proctor, that can be presenting research, that can be presenting a case at a national meeting. So I have 2 different meeting participations. My first one is I did a presentation. So in 2023, what I have here in page 5 is the front page of the digital program from that year. I highly recommend you download the program PDF and keep that information for this purpose. You are going to have to submit something that proves you did what you said you did. That program should list you. If you are presenting, it's going to be listing you like this. You'll notice that I've gone in and I've highlighted that, making it very easy for the C&E committee to find. I also, you will note, did not include the entire program. I included the title page showing what year it was and what meeting it was for, and then the page where I was listed. So that is page 5 and 6 in my supplemental document. So I'm going to go ahead and type that in here. so that that turns green. That was, I'm just going to say February 2023. Be specific with the date if it is specific. The organization was the AAFS. It was their annual meeting. And the program was, again, that Science Works program. And I presented. That's really about all the description you need to give. I was a presenter. They will see from page 6 of that document what it was I presented on. So that was my first meeting participation. Okay. So then I was a moderator for another session. So you will see that this was the 2026 program. It's very hard to see that date, but there it is. 2026 program. Again, that's the front page of the program so that they know what year and what meeting you participated in. And then again, it's going to list out, moderators, presenters, etc. So depending on what you did, highlight what you did so that they know what your role was, and just include the page that has you listed. Again, please do not put the entire program into this document. The C&E committee will not like you if you do that. So that's how we're going to fill out our little spreadsheet here. 2026, AAFS, annual meeting. That one was back to basics. I was a moderator, and that was page 7 and 8. So again, what is on page 7 and 8 should tie in to what is in the spreadsheet that you just filled out. Okay? The next thing up is our medico-legal affiliations. So you can earn credit one of two ways here. The first way is you are actually affiliated with an agency. If you are affiliated with an agency, what you will need to have is some sort of formal letter on letterhead signed by either the chief medical examiner, the coroner, whoever is basically kind of in charge of you, stating you are affiliated and for how long you've been affiliated. The other way that you earn this is by being mentored by an ABFO diplomate for a minimum of 2 years. If you go that route, you will need to have that ABFO diplomate mentor write a letter, basically stating the same thing that the agency would be stating. They've been mentoring you from this date to this date, etc. And that is what you would submit. So I have an actual affiliation. Mine was from 2020. I think I said January. Cannot spell. Again, ignore my spelling. And this is a yes or no question. More than 2 years to present. Meaning, has it been more than 2 years prior to the current date? So for me, yes, because we're talking like this is 2026. The name of the agency was the Knox County Regional Forensic Center for me. My role was a consulting forensic odontologist. That is my role. And again, what is the page number of Section 2A's supporting documents? If we keep scrolling, here's my affiliation letter. Again, formal letterhead. To whom it may concern, this is to inform you that Shawnatha Collier was a forensic dentistry consultant from these dates, etc. Signed. It was the chief medical examiner. That's on page 9 of this documents. So that's where I'm going to go and put that right there, page 9. Now, you can earn, you might have more than one affiliation. Perfectly fine. List all of the affiliations that apply and the dates. You have to have at least a 2-year affiliation, and that 2-year affiliation has to be current. So I actually had a second affiliation at the time that I applied. So again, if that is you, you will have to list multiple affiliations. Make sure you have the correct supporting documents and the appropriate page numbers listed here in your spreadsheet. So moving on, you have to have 5 autopsies. You can get these all at once on one day. You can get these all from the same agency. You can get them from multiple agencies. It doesn't matter. You just have to have observed 5 autopsies. Again, I recommend that you have something already prepared for the medical examiner to just easily fill in case numbers, that sort of thing, so that you can get that information signed off on that day and you don't have to come back and track it down. I don't remember the dates that mine are, but we're going to just fake plug in dates here. And fill out all the appropriate information. We're going to make up a case number and again, list whoever the attending pathologist was. All of mine happened on one day, so I just have a letter stating all of my autopsies, and that was page 10. So here's how my letter looks like. Again, you can kind of draft up something similar to this prior to going in and observing an autopsy. You know, you list out the case number, you can list out what case type it was, you can have a signature line if, again, you're doing these kind of one at a time, or if you do them all at once, just have a pre-done letter drafted up where they can fill in the case numbers and then sign it, and then there you go. You've got your letter showing you have observed your 5 autopsies. Okay, next up is our forensic dentistry cases. So this is going to be your ID cases, is where this starts. Then our age assessment cases, and then our bite mark cases. You do also have to have 3 additional cases. So let's come back up here to our ID cases. Okay, so we are now going to start filling in our ID cases. And you will notice that there's kind of multiple ways or multiple things that are being tracked here. We have our actual total ID cases. You have to have 20. You have to have 15 positive IDs. You have to have 5 resections, and you have to have taken the x-rays in 10 cases. Now, you may not hit all of these boxes with one case. So you're kind of tracking things both on the vertical as well as the horizontal, okay? You can, in essence, have different case numbers on the vertical leg here as well as the horizontal arm. So some of you are doing cases kind of remotely. So you might have your 15, you might have your 20 cases that were all done remotely, but then you went in and you did resections and radiographs on cases that you did not write the report for. So you would have different case numbers. So let's just kind of start out here filling this out. So the first thing that I would tell you to do is just fill out your ID case numbers. You're going to put in the agency and the case number. So we're going to say our Oklahoma Medical Examiner's Office. And that's, if you do an abbreviation that makes sense, as long as if it's a coroner's office, the medical examiner's office, the C&E committee is going to know what you mean there. If it's some sort of law enforcement agency, I would probably write it out just so they know exactly what law enforcement agency you did the case for. And then give the case number. Now, okay, so great. We did an ID case. That was our case number. It was, in fact, a positive ID, so I'm going to type that same information here. Okay, because, sorry, ignore my lovely little update message. That case check marks both of those boxes. I did not do a resection on this case, so we're not going to list it there because it wasn't a resection, but I did take the x-rays. So we're going to come over here and list, again, the same information. So you can see that we check marked 3 things with this one case. Okay? Not every single case is going to do that. That's why I say you're tracking kind of on the vertical as well as the horizontal. Realistically, you can sit here and you can just look at the vertical, fill it in by vertical if this is confusing to you. Ignore the horizontal aspect and just fill it in vertically. Type in your ID cases, then type in your case numbers for your positive IDs, type in your case numbers for your resections, and then type in your case numbers for your radiographs. Again, I would recommend that you track this and fill this out as you go. It will be much easier, much less backtracking that you have to do, especially if these cases are happening over several years. Just fill it out as you go, less digging for you to have to do. And again, this helps you track what you're still missing and what you have. So I'm going to continue to fill this out here. So let's say we did another case for the Oklahoma Medical Examiner's Office. This one was case number 234-234. It was a positive ID, so I'm going to go ahead and relist it here. But I did not take the x-rays in that case, so I leave that blank for that case. I don't come over here and put that in. I didn't take the x-rays. Okay. I also did not do a jaw resection. So again, we don't have that case number listed here because we didn't do that aspect in that case. So we've done another case for our Oklahoma ME's office. That's going to be case number 345-345. It was also a positive ID, so I'm going to go ahead and list that over here. This one I did take the x-rays on, so here we go. We're going to type that case information on our next available line, and there you have it. So you will see it is not tracking everything for that case all along the same horizontal line. That is perfectly fine. This is just a really quick, easy way for the C&E committee to make sure you have checked all of the boxes with your ID cases. You are also going to be submitting these cases on a summary sheet. So let's go ahead and take a look at that as well, because what is listed on that case summary sheet needs to match what is in this spreadsheet. So if we come back over here to our ABFO application folder, you'll notice, here we go. Our case summary sheet is actually in this general application forms because it's considered a general application form. Notice I have my name, my last name, and the year, and it's Article A, Summary of Cases. So if we open that up, this is what your case summary sheets are going to look like. You're going to fill in the date, the location / jurisdiction, case number. Did you do a resection? Yes or no? Did you take the x-rays? Yes or no? Was it a positive ID? Yes or no? And then a signature. This needs to be the signature of either the medical examiner or the coroner or some authorizing agent for the jurisdiction that you did the case for. Okay? So again, you are going to submit this so the C&E is actually going to have this sheet that they're looking at as well as your spreadsheet. So again, what's on this spreadsheet needs to coordinate with what is listed in your ID case summary sheet. Okay? This is just a little cumbersome for them to see all the yeses, all the nos, and add up. Did they have 15 positive IDs? Oh my gosh, I've lost track. Have they done their 5 surgical resections? Oh my gosh, I've lost track. That's why they developed the spreadsheet. It's very easy for them to see, yes, they got their 5 resections. Yes, they have their 10 radiographs. Yes, they have their 15 positive IDs. Yes, they have their 20 cases. So that's the reasoning behind having kind of the 2 sets of documentation. Okay, so you will see that I have now at least filled in my 15 positive IDs. I've got my 5 jaw resections, and I've got my 10 radiograph cases. Okay, you'll notice I'm still short 5 cases to reach my 20 total. But the reason they have this laid out this way is because you've now met at least the other requirements for the ID side. Now all they need to track is the ID case number. So the other thing that you can put here is if you participated in the ABFO workshop and received case credit for ID cases in that workshop, this is where you would start to list those. And the way that I would tell you to list those is just simply ABFO ID workshop. Okay. And if you got all 5 case credits for that, just continue to say ID workshop and ABFO ID workshop. workshop and ABFO ID workshop. Now, if you received case credit, you should have received a case credit letter stating how many case credits that you have. That is what is going to go in this section to a supporting document, that case credit award letter. I did not do the ID workshop, so I do not have a copy of an ID letter to show you what that should look like in this document. But you'll see other workshop letters here in just a minute, okay? But just know that if you had that letter, that is where it would go. It would go in that PDF with your other supporting documents, and you would type in whatever page number that it is. I'm going to say page number 23 simply because I don't have 23 pages in mine. And now everything is turned green in your ID section. You have now completed your requirements for IDs. Now, your workshop cases do need to be listed on your case summary sheet. And what does that look like? If we go back to our case summary sheet, this is just how I would have them listed here. Again, whatever the date was for the workshop, that it was a workshop case, the agency is the ABFO. You did not do any resections, you did not do any x-rays, and then yes or no if it was a positive ID, and then just something like see attached letter. That will count as the signature. Okay? So let's go back to our spreadsheet. Now we're going to move on to our age assessment cases. Again, there are kind of sub-requirements within the main age assessment requirement. So once again, this is not completely tracking horizontal. You're not going to be able to meet all these requirements with the same case horizontally, because you'll notice you have to have one child case, one adolescent case, one adult case. You have to have one case from your own casework, and then you have to have one ABFO case. So again, those are going to be all different case numbers right there. So just keep that in mind. That's how this is laid out. It's not a, oh my gosh, I'm not going to have the same case number all the way across for this number one. It's not meant to, okay? So kind of like IDs, you have to have a minimum total of 5 age cases. So that is what this first column is tracking. It's simply tracking that basic requirement of 5 age cases, okay? So I would tell you to start out with your first age case. Again, we're going to say we did a case for the Oklahoma Medical Examiner's Office, and it was case number 900. Oh, I lied. It was case number 002. That case was a child case. So because it was a child case, I'm going to go ahead and type that in here to show that I have my child requirement. Okay, so great. That's turned green. I've got my child requirement. I've got one of my age requirements. Perfect. This case actually is from my own casework as well. So I'm going to go ahead and type that in over here because that's a requirement that I've checkmarked with this one case as well. Again, this is, hopefully you guys are seeing why it's really important to just go ahead and track this information as you're doing it. It's so much easier to use the spreadsheet to really quickly and easily see what you've accomplished and what you still lack. Okay? So I have another age case, also again from the Oklahoma Medical Examiner's Office. That was case number 003003. That case was an adult case. So I'm going to go ahead and come over here and type in that information into the adult requirement. So as you can see, again, different case numbers along this horizontal line, but it's helping you track what requirements have been met in terms of those sub-age assessment requirements. Okay, let's go on to our next one. This was also a case for the Oklahoma Medical Examiner's Office, case number 004004. Lo and behold, this case was an adolescent case. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to type in that information for adolescent. Okay, so as you can see, all I lack now are 2 cases and an ABFO case. Okay, now you can earn up to 3 cases from the ABFO workshop. So I'm going to fill this in as if I have gotten I've gotten 3 cases from the ABFO. So I'm actually going to come in here and I'm going to just delete these for the sake of showing you how things would look if you completed the ABFO workshop. Okay, so you would type in age workshop, and those cases do have their own case numbers. So, you know, whatever the case number is, use that. We're just going to say 001. You got case credit for all 3 cases. So the first thing to do is just list those 3 cases. That'll be the easiest thing to do. Okay. Now, let's say that case 001 was your child. You're going to come over here and you're going to say ABFO, age workshop, number 001. You got case credit for 1 age case, and it was a child case, so that's where that fills in two of those boxes. You're going to get, let's say you got credit for the adolescent, and that was case 002, and you got credit for the adult. So you got credit for age for 003. You can pick any one of those 3 cases to list here as your ABFO case. We're just going to make it easy. And we're going to say age case 001. Okay? Now, you'll notice there is a page number of Section 2A supporting documents. That is where you would list your credit letter for the workshop. So if we go to my Section 2A supplemental documents, and you scroll down, here is my redacted letter. Your letter should look something similar to this. It's going to tell you, thank you for participating in the workshop held in this location on this year. You've received credit for however many cases you received credit for. You need to keep this letter. That's what you're going to submit. Okay, so you'll see that's my letter. It is on page 11 of my supplemental documents. So I'm going to type in 11 right there because that's what page number it is. Okay. Now, let's say you didn't receive case credit for the adolescent case in the workshop. Perfectly fine. No big deal. You can either do a repository case to get another age case, or you can just use one from your own casework if you have it. So let's just say, let's go back and put in that case I deleted. Perfectly fine for your spreadsheet to look like this. Use what you get in the appropriate place that it needs to be. If you only got one case credit from the age workshop, no big deal. Plug it in where it fits and work on getting the other requirements through other means. There is an age repository, so you can get age cases from that repository if you need them. There are other ways to get age cases, so if you're struggling with that, please reach out to myself or one of the Diplomate Development Committee members, and we can help you figure out a way to get some of these age cases. They gave you some boxes for alternate cases. You can list those here if you would like to list them there. But if you are going to use those for either these miscellaneous cases, which is another spot that you can use extra cases in, or you can actually use extra cases in your elective section, do not list them in the alternate cases. You'll list them in one of those 2 spots. So what I tell people is fill out the bare minimum requirements in the spreadsheet first, and then if you have additional cases, start plugging those into the areas where you get credit for the additional casework. We'll get to that here in just a minute. You'll notice that the next thing up is our bite mark cases. Once again, this is laid out with kind of the bare minimum requirement on that first column. You have to have 4 cases, but you do also have to have at least one ABFO approved case. So you may have 3 cases from an outside agency and only 1 ABFO case. That's perfectly fine. You only have to have 1 ABFO case. You can have more, but you have to have at least 1 ABFO case. You also have to have at least 1 non-ABFO case. And we'll get to that here in a little bit too. So let's just go ahead and fill in our information here. So once again, let's say we have a case from the Oklahoma Medical Examiner's Office. And this is going to be case number 900. It was not an ABFO case, so I'm not going to list it there, okay? Let's say I've got another bite mark case from the Oklahoma Medical Examiner's Office. So there we go. All right. Now, I then participated in the ABFO workshop. So I'm going to list the first case here. Again, those cases have their own numbers, so use whatever number that case is in that workshop. And I actually got 2 case credits from the workshop. So that's how I would list those there. Now we can see that I've got my 4 minimum bite mark cases. Okay, I need 1 ABFO case. Well, I did the workshop, so I can list that here. If you want to list both of them there, you can. That's perfectly fine. You do not have to, though, because, again, you only have to have a minimum of 1 ABFO case. So just know, and it says that right there, minimum of 1. Don't let the red down here confuse you. As long as you've got that minimum of 1, you have gotten your requirements. Now, again, if you've done an ABFO case, which you have to do, you will get some sort of case credit letter that you will put into your supporting document file that we are compiling here. You will notice here is a copy of the letter from my workshop. Thank you for participating. I'm pleased to inform you you've been awarded 2 bite mark case credits. That letter is on page 12 of my supplemental documents PDF. So that's what goes there, page 12. Okay, we have completed our bite mark cases. You do have to have extra cases. Those can be ID cases, they can be age cases, they could be bite mark cases, they could be human abuse cases, they could be any combination of the previously mentioned. So what I tell people is once you've hit your minimum here, so let's say, once you've put your case numbers here, any case numbers beyond this column right here can now start to go down here. Or same thing with age. Once you've hit these minimum 5 cases, any additional age cases can start to be plugged in here. Same with bite marks. Once you've hit the minimum 4, any additional bite mark cases could be plugged in here. Okay, so let's come up here. You'll notice we've got all these different ID cases, but let's say we obviously have additional ID cases because you'll notice I have some Texas ME cases that I use to get my positive IDs. Well, there's 3 ID cases right there that are not listed in this column. Therefore, I can use them in this down here. So let's just go ahead and do that. Case number 444. 555. Actually, I think it was 777. I'll go double check that. So yeah, 444, 555, 777. So those can in fact be used down here because you did not have them in this first column. Okay, you can't double dip. If it's in this column, it can't go down there in the extra cases. But if the case was used to meet one of these other requirements, then you can use it in that extra case file. Hopefully that makes sense. I know that is a little bit hard to understand and to track, but just know these first columns in ID, age, and bite mark are your minimum required. So any case numbers that fall under those three types beyond that minimum can be considered in this extra cases. So these were all ID cases, so we just list those as ID cases. Now, these extra cases do need to be on your case summary sheets. So you'll notice here's my 444, here's my 555, here's my 666. Or I'm sorry, the 777 is the one that I have listed. So again, what is on your case summary sheet needs to match what is in this spreadsheet. Okay. But now you can see that you've gotten your extra cases done. Great. Now your case requirements, your minimum case requirements have been completed in terms of ID, age, and bite mark. Next up is our sworn testimony. You can get this by one of two ways. The first way is by completing the ABFO Civil Litigation Workshop. The other way is by doing sworn testimony. That means you've either done a deposition, that is considered sworn testimony, or you actually have testified in court. That does need to be a dental related case. So just know that that's kind of the stipulations if you're using something other than the workshop. Okay. This is an area where if you've done testimony outside of the workshop, so either a deposition or an actual court testimony, reach out to the chair of the certification and examination committee and ask what documentation they need as proof of what you've done. Okay? I did the workshop, so I'm just going to type in workshop 2021. That's when I did it. And again, you should have a case credit letter if you did a workshop. So let's come back to my section 2A. We'll scroll down. Here's my civil litigation. Blah, 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 blah. Thank you for the workshop. You have been given credit for one of the testimony requirements needed for the board exam. That letter is on page 13 of my supplemental documents. So I come in here and I tell it page 13. And there we go. Now, my sworn testimony is completed. Fabulous. Okay. Now you will have to submit one case for ID, one case for age, and one case for bite marks. None of these cases can be ABFO cases. They need to be from your own casework. Okay. It can definitely be one of these cases you've listed up here. Okay. It doesn't have to be something separate. Use one of these cases you've listed. Okay. So we're just gonna come up here and we're gonna say we're gonna use this case right here, 123123, because it was a positive ID and I took the X-rays. So that's gonna be my case number. Okay, ME office case number 123123. Now, notice we have a new supporting document. We have section 2B. That is a separate PDF from what we've been doing. See, section 2A, this is section 2B. Okay, so if we go back to my folder, let's come back out to the main part. 2A is our supporting documents that we've been putting all of our letters into, all of our meeting participations. 2B is going to be our reports. That is going to be the big thing that they want to see for each of those cases you're submitting. Okay, so for my ID case, and this is not going to match up, so just know that the numbers you're seeing here are not the same case numbers as listed on my spreadsheet. That's perfectly fine because this is all just made up, okay, for the purpose of this video. But you'll notice that this is my ID report. Here we go. We're still in my ID report, still in my ID report. So that was pages 1 through 4, okay? So my ID was page 1 through 4, okay? My age case that I'm going to use, it can't be an ABFO case, so let's just I'm going to say let's use this 002002. So we're going to come down here. It's going to be OK, ME Office, case number 002. And what pages are that report going to be in this document? It's going to be, there's page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9. So my age case takes up pages 5 through 9. Okay? And last, we have to have a non-ABFO case for bite marks. So I'm going to, let's say I've chosen this case right here, that 900 case. I do not have a redacted bite mark case to plug into this, but let's just say I did, okay? I would add my bite mark case report into this and then list my page numbers. Let's just say it was 10 through 16, okay? If they want any additional documentation for these cases, they will reach out and ask you for it. The reports are really going to be the first thing they're going to look at to see your work product, your thought process, your terminology use, all of those things. So make sure for these cases that you're submitting, you're putting it into a separate PDF folder labeled Section 2B, Supporting Documents, and you're putting your reports into that document. Okay? You will notice if you go to your case summary sheets that for bite mark, here's our bite mark cases. Again, you're filling this out just like you did for your age. You know, jurisdiction, case number. Primary investigator means, did you collect the records? If you did not collect the records, then you are not the primary investigator, okay? Was it an ABFO case? Is it the case you submitted? So you'll see here, I submitted that 900, so I said yes. For your ABFO cases, you're going to list them here. You can earn a max of 2 case credits from the workshop and a max of 2 case credits from the repository. So if you've done that, that's kind of how your sheet would look. For age, again, you're listing your jurisdiction, your case number. Were you the primary investigator, meaning did you take the records? What case type was it? And which case did you submit? Again, I did the 002, so that's why that says yes there. If you have workshop cases, this is how I would recommend listing them, and see attached credit letter. Okay? So that's your case summary sheets. Those should all be filled out, and again with the appropriate signature. Make sure that you have a signature for every case that you have listed on those sheets. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. We don't need that anymore. This is again your Section 2B, supporting documents for your cases you're submitting. Should be your reports. You should have an ID report, an age report, and a bite mark report. Okay, we're done with that, so I'm going to get rid of that. This is, again, your Section 2A supplemental documents. So that's the things like your meeting participation, your meeting attendance, any workshop credit letters, your autopsy observations, and your affiliations. Okay, so we're done with that. I'm going to get rid of that. Now, you will notice that you are pretty much green through most of this spreadsheet at this point in time. We've gotten our summary of cases signed off. Everything's good to go. So I am going to just put compiled and complete, or completed. Let's put completed. Completed probably works better. Completed 3/29/2026. We have finished our 2A supporting documents. So I'm going to say completed 3/29/2026. That again lets me know we've got everything put together. It's all ready to go. We have completed our Section 2B supporting documents. So completed 3/29/2026. We know that's all good to go. Okay. So we're still filling our worksheet out, the spreadsheet out, and we're still working on our electives. Okay? Now, that's where we're going to go over here to this electives tab. These are the additional 350 points of extra activity. There are several different ways to earn these points. Not everyone's spreadsheets are going to look the same because you can have a combination of all these different things that will earn you these points, okay? The first one is this additional casework. So any cases above the 20 IDs, the 4 bite marks, 5 age, and the 3 additional can come here. You'll notice that you will earn 20 points each, but a maximum of 100 points. So you can only have 5 additional cases beyond what is the minimum required. Okay? So let's say you have 35 ID cases. Obviously, you can plug every single one of those extra ID cases into here and max out your points here. So that's what we're going to do here. Sorry, I should read that correctly. Let's just give it a date of let's go back to 2025. Let's just say we did a case a day in February in 2025. Again, you guys all know how to tell the dates. You guys know how to put in dates. And let's see. We did 3 of these for the Texas ME office. Let's see. This one was case number 888, and it was an identification. This one was 999. It was also ID. This one was 101, and it was ID. And then let's say we had 2 extra bite mark cases. This one was 005, bite mark. Can't spell bite mark today. I also apparently can't type numbers. And then this one was also for the Oklahoma ME office. This was another bite mark case. Okay. So if you have additional cases that you use here in your electives, you'll notice it awards your points over here. These points, if you go back to your general requirements tab and scroll to the bottom, you will notice it's tabulating right here. This tells you you've got 100 points towards that 350. So that's kind of cool that if you're filling this out as you go, you really only have to look at this first page to know where you're at in your requirements, because things that you've completed are green. So real quick and easy, great. I don't have any greens in a lot of these. And you can just come down here and see where you're at point-wise for your extra activity. Okay? Now, if you are using additional casework, those need to be listed on your case summary sheets. So if we go back to that and look at that case summary sheet, you will see, you will see here's my 888, my 999, my 101. It's got all the information and the signature. There's my extra, I totally lied. Those were age cases. Those were extra age cases. So see, this is why you got to be paying attention. Correct that. Say age assessment. And age assessment. So again, that is one thing that the examination committee is going to be looking at. Does it match? Is everything in this spreadsheet matching with what you have on your documentation elsewhere? So you'll notice there's my 2 extra age cases beyond my minimum required 5. There we go. Now, if you look at these case summary sheets, again, you have to have a minimum of 20 ID cases. You'll notice that I have 32. So I could have, in theory, listed 20 ID cases, 3 ID cases in that extra cases, and then the other 5 cases on my additional activity. I could have simply used all of my extra ID cases to meet those requirements. Okay? I happen to have extra age cases too, so it doesn't really matter. If you have extra cases from multiple areas, ID, age, bite mark, it really doesn't matter which ones you're picking to fill in those extra case areas. Be that the extra cases here on the main requirements or the extra cases here in the additional points. Okay? So another way for you to earn those extra points is additional court testimony. If you have those, this is where you would list those. Again, date, name of agency, case number, 20 points max, or 20 points each, max of 100 points. Okay? You can earn points for extra CE. So you have to attend 4 meetings. You cannot use any of the 4 meetings that you listed here, back on this main part of the spreadsheet. You cannot use any of these 4 meetings to fill in here. This is extra beyond those 4 meetings, okay? Notice it's 1 point per hour up to 100 points. You do have to submit supporting documentation. So what does that look like? Let me get rid of this. I participated in a fellowship, so I got CE credits for that. I did that January 2020 to basically February 2021. That was the UT Forensic Dentistry, let's see, Graduate School of Medicine. The meaning was the Forensic Dentistry Fellowship. And I don't remember exactly how many hours I had. I'll look at that here in a second. But you do have to, again, include supporting documentation. So if we come back to my main application, you'll notice here's our 2C. That is the supporting documents for your extra activity. Here is my transcript for that fellowship. If I scroll down, you will see that there were 373 total hours for that fellowship. Now, notice I can only earn up to 100. So I can either write 373. It's still you'll see right here, it maxed it out at 100. It automatically knows I can't earn any more than 100. So that's what it gave me credit for. Okay? I could have also just said 100. I know that's the max. I'm just going to list up to 100. No big deal. So if you did a fellowship and you got those extra hours, you can list all of them. It really doesn't matter. Just know you're going to max out at 100 regardless. Let's say you didn't do a fellowship, but you've taken, a 3-hour course here, a 5-hour course there. They're doing the 40-hour course in July with the coroners and medical examiners. So let's say you did that. Just list in the information that's needed, the date, the organization that ran it, the name of the course or the meeting, how many hours you earned, and then make sure that you put your supporting documentation in there. So for any kind of CE, that's going to be, again, a credit letter. You were awarded X number of credit hours for attending this lecture, this meeting, this workshop, this whatever you earned for. Now, if you were an observer for an ABFO workshop, that would count. That is considered continuing education. Those are hours that you can use here in this section. If you are a participant, you're already getting the case credit from those, so I don't believe that you can use those here. That would be a question for the C&E chairperson, but if you're an observer, that for sure would count in this area. Okay? The next thing that you can earn points for is presentations. These must be original presentations. They cannot be the same presentation given 4 separate times. So it does have to be a different presentation each time you're trying to get credit for it, if that makes sense. So I earned points here. I don't remember my dates on that. I can look at that here in just a second. let's see, I did a presentation in February of 2021 for the National Forensic Academy. The name of their meeting was basically one of their annual courses. So I would probably honestly just say National Forensic Academy again here for this. And what I did was I did a forensic dentistry lab demonstration for ID, forensic dental ID. That's basically what I did. And again, you have to do some sort of supporting documentation. For that, for most of these, I recommend a letter signed by whoever is in charge of the course, the organization, whatever you are lecturing, whoever you're lecturing to, whoever kind of coordinated and is in charge of that. So you'll see here's my letter. I did this demonstration, signed by the coordinator. That is, sorry, everybody. That is page 2 of my supplemental documentation. So we will make sure that we come in here and we type page 2. I don't think that I typed page 1 was my CE. So there's page 2. Again, I actually did 4 separate presentations. Did another one on March of 2021. This one was for the UT Graduate School of Medicine. To the Forensic Dentistry Fellowship. And this was postmortem forensic dentistry examination. Once again, you have to have some sort of documentation for that. Here is my letter. Here's what the exercise included. We did morgue protocols, an exam, software instruction, etc. Just an outline kind of what that demonstration was, signed by the person who was in charge. That is page 3 of that documentation. So make sure that you put page 3. Again, you'll notice that it is calculating over here for each of those courses. And we're just going to go ahead and finish filling this out. This was the National Forensic Academy again. And Forensic Dentistry Lab demonstration on scale placement for patterned injuries. That's going to be page 4. I'll show you that here in a minute once I get the other one entered in, so I can just show you everything all at once. And this was 2021. This was to the University of Tennessee. Not the Graduate School of Medicine, basically just the University of Tennessee. And it was a lecture to their CEM course number. I don't remember what the number was. We're just going to say that. Presentation was basically forensic dentistry, an introduction. That was on page 5. So again, here's what the documentation looks like for that letter. Here's the demonstration on proper scale placement. And then here's the letter for the lecture to the course through the University of Tennessee. Again, signed by the course director. That's going to show proof that I did what I said I did. Okay. So moving on, And if we go back, well, before we do that, let's go back to our general requirements because we've entered some more stuff into those additional activity points. Now you'll notice I'm at 300 points now. So I only need 50 more points. Another thing that I did was I had a publication. So if you have a publication, you can earn 50 points for your first one, 25 points for your second one. So if you have one of those, what you're going to do is you're just going to list the publication. Okay? If you have a publication, I highly recommend you just putting a copy of that publication into your supplemental documents. So here is the start of that. And it goes basically to the end of my supplemental documents. As you can see, there is the whole article so that they can, verify and make sure that it qualifies to earn you those points. So that was page 6 through 14 of my supplemental documents for my publication. So that's how I would list that. Now, if we come back here to this general requirements, you'll notice that that turned green because I have earned the 350 points. Once you've got everything done and earned your 350 points, now we're going to come in here and change that to the date. Great, we have completed that. We've also now completed our worksheet. So we're going to put today's date there. Everything is green in this worksheet that needs to be green. We've got our supplemental documentation PDFs all put together. So everything is now ready to be emailed over to the chair of the C&E committee. So that is the basics of this spreadsheet. Hopefully kind of walking you through that helps you understand how this gets filled out, how it's tracking things. Let's go back to the electives tab just so I can kind of talk you through the other things that can earn extra points. You can earn additional points from affiliations beyond the minimum 2 years. You get 20 points per year with a maximum of 60 years. Maximum of 60 points. So let's say you were affiliated for 5 years before you submitted your ABFO application. You can use those 3 extra years of affiliation to earn up to 60 points. You earn points if you are a part of a mass fatality exercise or event. So it doesn't have to be an exercise. It can be an actual event if you work a mass fatality situation. If you're the organizer, you earn a maximum of 25 points for organizing. If you participate, it's 1 point per hour with a maximum of 15 points. You will notice that for both the affiliations and for the mass fatalities, there are supporting documents. For affiliations, I would tell you to just, again, if you've got a letter from your affiliation stating you were affiliated from X year to X year, you would put that in that section 2C as well. I know you will have submitted it in your 2A documents, but go ahead and put it in the 2C as well. For any mass fatality, you're going to need to, again, have someone who is in charge or above you in terms of the authority level sign off on some sort of, again, letter, form, some sort of documentation stating you participated, what your role was, how, the tasks that you completed in terms of that event. Okay? Those, again, would go into your 2C. You would write the appropriate page number next to the event here. Okay? The last thing that you can earn additional activity points from is serving on a committee. That needs to be a forensic odontology committee, and you can earn a maximum of 100 points in this area. You can earn 25 points if you serve as the chairperson. Again, your date, your organization. Your supporting document here, you would need to get some sort of letter from either other members in the organization or if there is someone that is above you, again, stating you served as the chairperson for this organization from this date to this date. Same thing with committee member. If you serve as a committee member, get your chairperson to write a letter stating you served as a committee member for this organization from this date to this date. And those letters would go into that section 2C supporting documents PDF, and that would show the proof that you served in that capacity. So those are the way you earn extra points. Those are the kinds of things that would need to be submitted in that supplemental documentation. The last part of the spreadsheet that I want to kind of point out is that Dr. Nace has actually linked the pages of the DRM that break down these different requirements, okay? So you will notice that the DRM pages are actually here in the spreadsheet. You can find the full DRM on the ABFO website, and DRM stands for Diplomate Reference Manual. That is basically the Bible. What it says in the Diplomate's Reference Manual is what the C&E committee, the Certification and Examination Committee, are going to adhere to in terms of your requirements and what will and will not count. So if you have a question, let's say you have a question about this medical legal agency affiliation, if you just click on that, it is hyperlinked to the section of the DRM that breaks that down. Okay? So same thing with like electives. Let's say you have a question about presentations. It's going to, if you click on that, it tells you right here, that's the section of the spreadsheet that it's referring to, and here's where that breaks down. So again, Dr. Nace did a really good job of kind of putting this together, putting all of the necessary information in one place so that you're not jumping from document to document, tracking casework on this page and casework on this page and extra activity over here. And this, again, really streamlines your tracking process as well as streamlines the process for the Certification and Examination Committee. You know, you just saw me go through a lot of information that has to be compiled. That means the Certification and Examination Committee has to go through all of that same information, and for multiple people if there are multiple applicants. So this really just makes this so much easier for them as well. And they are, it's not a requirement to use this for your application right now. It is very, very strongly suggested. There will be a point in time where this will be the way you submit an application. So those of you that are in the pipeline, just go ahead and start using it. It's an absolutely great tool to really easily track where you are, what you still need, and have you gotten all of the documentation you need to turn in to prove you've done everything you've said you've done. As always, you can reach out to me if you have any questions. You can reach out to anybody that's on the C&E committee. You can reach out to anybody that's on the Diplomate Development Committee. All of our information is here on the ABFO website. Resources, you have the Diplomate information. That gives, again, email addresses. If you want to know who's on the committees, you come here to leadership and you go down to committees, ABFO committees. And if you need to know who the chair of the certification committee is, you're going to keep scrolling right here where it says certification and examination. The person in bold is who is the chairperson for 2026 to 2027. That is Dr. Holland Manis. If you need to know who is on the Diplomate Development Committee, that is actually an ad hoc committee. So you'll scroll down here. Here's the Diplomate Development. Here's all of the committee members. Again, I am Shaunatha Collier. I am currently serving as the chair. If you need to get a hold of me, again, you can do that through the Diplomate information. If you click on that and then come here, this is laid out several different ways. There's an alphabetical list, etc. But you'll notice there is contact information for active diplomates. If you scroll down, and sometimes you have to scroll quite a ways to get to that point, but it's there. Just keep scrolling. It is alphabetical order. So again, my last name is Collier. So there is my email address. Feel free to shoot me an email if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. Thank you guys for hanging in there. Again, hopefully this made it easier for you to understand the spreadsheet and how it's being utilized.